Authenticity of a narrator, how reliable are the narrators. Unfortunately, there are some of our new brothers who converted to Islam. I don't know how long, but they think that, whatever they have heard, it should be taken for granted, and then they make video and they say, yes, on that time the age of Ayesha was normal, so we have to accept it. No, it is not the case. We have to acknowledge that there are many unauthentic hadith, and this is the role of the scholars to evaluate hadith and see which one are true and which one are not false, are not true. And there are some other calculations that I can mention, that even according to Sahih Bukhari, still Ayesha could not be on that age. If just want to give you one more example. For example, Sahih Bukhari said that when Surah Al-Qamar, there's one surah in the Quran, one chapter in the Quran, it's called the chapter of moon. When this chapter of the moon, or Surah Al-Qamar, was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Ayesha was young. And the same book says that Surah Al-Qamar, or the chapter of moon, has been revealed to Prophet 9 years before his migration to Medina. So, if we just make this calculation, forget about all other calculations. The book of Hadith Sahih Bukhari says Ayesha was young when Surah Al-Qamar revealed to Prophet. And so when it says young, what is the minimum age for young? Let's say again 7 years. So let's suppose that Ayesha was 7 years old when Surah Al-Qamar was revealed to Prophet. So 7 here. 9 years, it was 9 years after migration, before migration to Medina. So 7 plus 9 would be 16. And if 1 or 2 years after Prophet's migration to Medina, the wedding had occurred, so 16 plus 1 or plus 2 would be 17 or 18. There are many other calculations, but I don't want to make it long. That's why I'm saying that this hadith is not reliable, as it's not a piece of Quran, it's not a verse from Quran saying, oh, we have to go ahead and we have to answer. We are not here to answer, because in Islamic sources, maybe in other occasion I would mention that one of the sources of Islam is Quran, the other one is aql, intellect. So if something is contradicting to aql, to reason, then it won't be Islamic idea.
This is an important premise that I think this is an important message that we are getting from you, that Quran is something that God claims to be the same as it was, as it has always been, and it's a historical fact that it has not changed and will not change. But anything other than Quran, any book, be it religious or not, is actually the work of humans who have compiled it. Mm-hmm. So, and there is a room for research if we find some contradictions in that. We cannot just accept something which is apparently contradicting, because several incidents have happened throughout the history, and it's only Quran that has survived all those incidents. So there is as you mentioned, we have a concept. We do have a concept of mawdu hadith with no authenticity or very weak authenticity, but we do not have such concept about Quran. So I think this opens a new chapter of thought, that the authors of Sahih al-Bukhari may have done a very good job in what they have done, but still over the centuries, things may have happened, where there is a room for further research. So, but a normal audience, among the three groups that I mentioned, those who converted to Islam recently, the children, the youngsters in the English-speaking environment, and general audience, they would then think that we don't hear this from any other source. I mean, it has been 1400 years, more than that, the Islam has revealed, and now Dr. Mesbah Moosavi comes forward and says that this particular point is incorrect, and actually the age of Ayesha was not 9 years. So this is a bit surprising that it has not been raised before. Would you like to comment on that?
That's a good question. First of all, it's not only me that raises this evaluation of the hadith. Fortunately, when I was looking, doing some research from our brother Sunni scholars, I'm talking about Sunni scholars themselves, they have started to look at this hadith, and they themselves acknowledged, and they said this hadith could not be right. But still, your question is valid. You say, okay, so all the scholars have started their evaluation recently. So what about 1 century ago, 2 centuries ago, 14 centuries ago? Why this re-evaluation has not been done? To answer your question, we have to know that in ancient time, in medieval time, the age of marriage was not a big issue. So that's why no one cared. She was 7, 9, 10. No one cared to ask this question. It was not a big deal at all. Because if I have time, I would mention that even in United States, in some of the states in the United States, just 120 years ago, so almost 1 century ago, the age of marriage, the marriageable age for a girl was 7 years old. So I have even some other document that if I have time, I would mention. So when 7 years old, just 120 years ago, could get married in US, in United States, so no one could raise this question, why Ayesha was 9 when she got married to Prophet Muhammad? No one. So on that time, this was not a big issue. So people just started, saying the same thing that other people said. And even we have some Shia books, they have quoted the same thing, because it was not a big deal to think about it, how old was she. But now, when we come to the age of, question and criticism, and we see some people are just abusing this wrong information and try to make it a big deal that Prophet has got married to a child, then say, okay, now we have to stop and think. Now we look at this hadith. We see this hadith is says contradictory to many, many other things written in the same book. And when we look at the biography of the narrator, Hisham, he narrated this when he was very old and his memory was deteriorating. And there was some other narrators, no one else has mentioned this issue. Now we have this right to say it was wrong. It was not correct. And so why we didn't talk about this issue before? Because this issue was not important before, and now became a big deal, and we have to look at it, critically.
So over the course of centuries, if I try to, what I understood from your remarks is that over the course of centuries, we have seen, very recently, we have seen more importance attached to the age of marriage. It was almost usual for age of marriage to be less than what it is now. Yeah. And people tended to ignore this particular fact or this particular narration because it didn't come into focus. It didn't come into. But now, over the course of a few decades, past decades, since the age of marriage has, there's more communication in the world, and age of marriage is known in different societies to be much higher than what it is stated. So people have tried, questioning this fact and thinking about it more critically, and that's why this issue has come into limelight. So, but still, do you have any examples from the current day, today, where age of marriage is, say, not 18 as it is in the concept of many of our brothers and sisters?
Yeah. I knew you are a smart person, and I knew you were going to ask me this question, so I made some research. I have my homework here. Yeah, if I want just to mention about in 2011, the marriageable age in different parts of the world. Um, for example, in Europe, what I have here, I'm quoting from Wikipedia. It says, for example, in Europe, in Albania, 18, in Armenia, 18 for males and 17 for females. In Austria, 18 for boys and 16 for girls. And we come to Denmark. Denmark, 18 for boys and 15 for girls. And in Germany, 18 for boys and 16 for girls. And in Netherlands, 18 for boys and 16 for girls. And we can go and further about like North America. Let's say just about US. In every state, the marriageable age is different. Mostly they focus on 18 for boys and 16 for girls. But in some states, like Georgia, 18 for boys and 15 for girls. Hawaii is the same. Now we have another state. It's very interesting to mention this. In Massachusetts, in US, 18 for first marriage, 14 for male, 12 for female with parental and judicial consent. So if parents are in agreement and the court agree also, so a girl of 12 years old can get married at the same age of 12. So just one example, if I will go to other states, so it would be different. So even I have one article here, you can find in internet also. The title of this article is Age of Marriage in Medieval Times, or Pedophile. And this title, it says that until perhaps the 1200s, it was common to marry earlier than now. For example, age 12 and even younger was quite common for girls. Then it comes to say, in the 16th century, the minimum legal age for marriage in England was 12. Parliament raised the minimum age for the marriage to 16 in 1885. Then it highlighted something else. It said the above is just 200 years ago. Now compare it to the reality of 1200 years earlier. Then it continued. The age of consent in one of the American states was just 7 years, just 120 years ago. But the Western people did not know that and just criticized Islam and Muslims for the marriage of the Muhammad and Ayesha more than 1400 years ago.